by being connected with the food that you're eating, you're honoring the place, the land, also the people. When you're buying food that you have no idea who produced it, then there's a disconnect.
Next on Meet the Farmer TV, Farmers, Foodies, and Fire, Terra Madre Day. This program is a production of Meet the Farmer TV, LLC, in association with Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Culpeper Media Network, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia. And In the Kitchen magazine, serving the community and everyone who loves good food. Today on Meet the Farmer TV, Slow Food Albemarle Piedmont, Farmers, Foodies, and Fire, Terra Madre Day. Let's go talk to Lena Zentgraf, one of the organizers of this event.
Thanks, Michael. We're here at Farmers, Foodies, and Fire, our Terra Madre Day celebration, December 11th, here on Canis Major, a little farm out in Boyd Tavern, Virginia, to celebrate all the great producers and community members who are interested in Terra Madre, Mother Earth. We have Ira Wallace from Southern Exposure Seed Exchange, which is they specialize in heritage varieties of seeds and are just sort of an amazing community group, really supportive of other farmers, foodies, community and farm-based organizations. We have Mark from Sharondale Farm, who's a local mushroom producer. We have my mother, who's a vendor at the farmer's market. She makes vegetarian treats. We also have some representatives from the LOCAVORE group who are actually, as we speak, putting a whole deer on the fire that they just, I believe, shot 2 hours ago. So, we're celebrating all these small producers that are having a huge impact, and we hope to have a huge impact to sort of enhance our food community, and so we're thanking them and also celebrating a year of harvest, a year of this slow food group sort of growing in the area. Today is Terra Madre Day, and it's just a day to celebrate all the people that it brings together, and of course just celebrating Mother Earth, being outside in the elements, and which is what we're kind of after. People bringing food that they made in their home, talking about what local farmers are doing and what supporting their role in our community, and then just like I said, being outside around a bonfire, catching up with folks in the community.
Let's find out some more about how this movement got started and what exactly Slow Food Albemarle Piedmont means.
All right, everybody, the fire is lit. It doesn't look it yet, but pretty soon it's going to be licking at our heels. So, to Terra Madre Day.
I'm Stephen Friedman, and I'm on the board of directors of Slow Food Albemarle Piedmont, which covers a fairly large swath of Virginia. And slow food is all about, well, let's just say the name, you can take it somewhat literally. It's the opposite of fast food. It's about food being an important part of your life, something to be savored and respected rather than rushed through. It means different things to different people. For some people it's about local ingredients. For some people it's about farming that is gentle on the earth and avoiding monoculture and pesticides and so on. For some people it's about food traditions. It's about knowing about our culinary history, what our grandparents ate and what our ancestors ate, that being recipes, ingredients, and so on. And for a lot of people it's just about making food a central part of our lives. Instead of driving through a McDonald's, it's about savoring and relaxing. It used to be that the family communal meal was the most important time of the day for bonding in a family, and for neighbors and villages and so on to get together to exchange news, to share each other's lives. Now, how much of it is about dashing out the door and having a breakfast bar that you open up, toss the wrapper, and chow down on your way running off to something? And we're not saying anybody that does those things is evil, but we are saying that there's a rich history and tradition and important part of life to be enjoyed that we need maybe to get back to a little bit. Well, slow food was first formed in Italy a number of years ago, and then more recently brought to the United States, and it started cropping up. There are already a couple hundred chapters throughout the United States, and we cover well, it's in the name, Slow Food Albemarle Piedmont. We cover the Central Virginia area, but we have Piedmont because it stretches. We're dealing with folks all the way up in Loudoun County and all the way down to Roanoke and beyond. And my involvement is I'm one of the members of the board of directors. We started this chapter only a few months ago. Our formal launch was in August of this year, and we had a big kickoff and potluck dinner over at Tufton Farm, which was a great place to highlight the concept of slow food. Tufton is what preserves the food growing traditions going all the way back to Thomas Jefferson's day. So we're here today in celebration of Terra Madre Day, which was officially yesterday, but today's a weekend, so we're doing it today. Every 2 years, Slow Food has a large gathering in Italy, its birthplace, to talk about recent developments in food, as well as the expansion of the movement and so on, and just to get together in the tradition of slow food. And then a couple months later is what's called Terra Madre Day. Terra Madre, literally Mother Earth, which is when we bring what we've learned from the biannual event out to our local chapters and talk to our local members and so on. And that's what we're celebrating today. It's not work. It's some people do lectures, some people do events of other kinds. We're doing something very simple. We're having a big bonfire and a potluck. All the guests will have brought food. It will not be anything out of a package. People are bringing things that they made themselves, or they're bringing just local produce to throw on the grill. In addition to the bonfire, we have a ginormous cooking pit, if I might use the technical term ginormous. And we are going to be eating and talking about food and just generally celebrating life. We're going to be doing some food tourism. We're going to be going out to some wonderful restaurants that are in Central Virginia, but are destination restaurants. There are some phenomenal places that are scattered about in the middle of nowhere, and we're going to put a couple of buses together and go out and enjoy. We're going to announce every one of our events on our website, which you can see displayed on the screen. Please check in periodically. You'll be able to sign up for our mailing list. You'll be able to get announcements of events and participate in any way you choose, and we would welcome you to do that. Central Virginia, it's a large geographic area, and it has a great diversity of people, both urban and rural, liberal and conservative. And we have apartment dwellers, and we have farmers. We have people from all over the spectrum, and every one of them can be more in tune with what goes into their bodies and keeps them alive. And we want to help facilitate that knowledge and promote that awareness.
Well, Terra Madre is it started out as this biennial conference, and it's the chance for Slow Food to bring together farmers, fisher people, activists, chefs, and students from all over the world to come together and to talk about good, clean, fair food, and how we can work together for a more sustainable food system, and we can preserve food traditions as well as look for positive change in our current food systems. So it's a way to bring together a lot of top academics from around the world, as well as indigenous people who are trying to preserve their food culture, as well as, for example, people like me from the United States, a small scale food producer, bring all these people from around the world with different ideas and different systems of food in their own communities, bring these people together and try to figure out ways to move forward. Well, my husband and I and our family, we've been operating a farm in Keswick, which is just down the road from this event today. And we've been growing vegetables and flowers for the last few years. And this last fall, we decided that we needed to take a break and to step away from the operation for a while. So we are looking at perhaps growing grain on our property in the future. And at this point, those are the plans for our farm. But I believe that it's really important to continue to be involved in the food movement here as an advocate for both the food producers and a way to help connect producers and consumers, and to continue to support the really strong food community that we have here. After having attended Terra Madre in October, my interest in being involved in the slow food chapter here was really solidified. And now I hope that our organization here can help to highlight the rich food traditions that we have here, so that we can continue to celebrate and to recognize some of the traditions through whether it's a style of cooking or specific ingredients that are found around here, and to find a way to sort of preserve those and honor those through events like, for example, there's an event that we're sort of dreaming about. We understand that that the UVA rare books collection at the library has a large collection of very old cookbooks and food-related texts, and so we think it would be really interesting to hold an event that highlights those books and the recipes found within those books, and sort of have a celebration of some of the food traditions that have come from our area. Another place that Slow Food internationally has a lot of influence is working with food in schools, and I know that we have interest within our chapter in supporting the efforts that are ongoing in the school food initiatives here in Charlottesville. Well, I think that through my time as being as farming here in Charlottesville, that I ended up making forming a lot of relationships with people that I wouldn't necessarily have done so before. So through being involved in slow food, it's a way to continue to be involved with those same people, or to continue to engage with new people who are interested in good, sustainable food production, food that has flavor, food that was raised with integrity, and food that was prepared by people who really care about the food. And that's just sort of my interest is in continuing to be around people who care about food in the way that I do. By being connected with the food that you're eating, you're honoring the place, the land, also the people. When you're buying food that you have no idea who produced it, then there's a disconnect, and you no longer have to think about the conditions in which those people worked, or the economic stress or emotional stress or physical strain that went into the production of that food, or the negative environmental impact that the production of that food might have had. So when you buy when you're buying directly from the people who live around you, you have to stop and think about those things. And I think that I like to try to stop and slow down and think about my actions throughout my life. And food is just one way of doing that, of making informed choices and conscientious choices about where my money is going to support. Oftentimes making a decision to support a farmer who's producing locally, you're also oftentimes making a huge environmental decision, and buying and supporting somebody locally is always going to be a better economic or environmental decision than supporting food that's grown from far away. So for me, the environmental impact is huge. Also, the flavor and the taste, and stopping to really detect the nuances and flavor that come out of food that's prepared close to where you live and that's really fresh and that's grown on soil that's rich and full of life. Then a lot of times the flavor that you taste is much richer and is a much more enjoyable experience. I think that, buying from people who live around you, you're just helping to keep your money right there in your community. You're employing not only the farmer, but the people that he employs on his land. Every time he has to take his tractor to be repaired, you're also helping employ the people who work in the tractor repair place. Every time he goes and buy something from the hardware store, then your dollars are just rippling to affect a huge community, not necessarily just directly that farmer.
So what I do, among other things, is I teach classes on deer hunting for food to adults with no past experience. Otherwise, it's really hard to get, if you decide, okay, I want to eat the deer that are in my backyard, where do you start? Hunting is generally an oral tradition. I mean, not just in America, but everywhere. And until pretty recently, if you didn't grow up hunting, you probably didn't really want to. So there haven't been resources, there haven't been classes. I mean, there have been hunter safety classes, but that won't teach you how to hunt. That'll teach you how not to kill yourself or someone else while you're hunting. So I teach 2-day intensive classes, and we do everything from, it's basically a science class about deer. We learn a lot of anatomy and natural history, and everyone learns how to shoot. And then we have an actual, deer on the ground that we do a butchering and gutting and skinning demonstration on. And at the end of the class, we cook the deer that the class worked on, and we pair it with local wines and we eat it. So that is much of what I do. I work as a guide and tutor also. I'm the author of A Beginner's Guide to Hunting Deer for Food, which will be out with Story Publishing in late summer of 2011. When I started doing this, I had a lot of interest from slow food chapters around the country. In particular, I started doing events in partnership with Slow Food NYC. First, we did a few events on cooking with venison and how someone who lives in New York City in a shoebox apartment can become a deer hunter. And so I've been doing those events in New York, and then we did one on Canada geese recently. I think that hunting for food is something that has been the missing ingredient of the locavore movement, and I think it's been a missing ingredient in the slow food movement also. I mean, slow food has been doing so many wonderful things to preserve traditional foodways and to preserve traditional ingredients, heirloom varieties of fruits and vegetables and grains and of livestock and poultry that really there aren't many other people or groups out there working on. But there's a whole other, even more ancient lineage of food that's being lost every day through hunting. As even in America, every year there are fewer and fewer hunters. It's a tradition that is dying, and it's dying around the world too. As you have indigenous hunters are pushed towards more sedentary lifestyles, and they're losing knowledge that goes back arguably to predating Homo sapiens sapiens. It's something I think is extremely important to preserve, and in terms of hunting methodology and recipes and how they handle the meat, and so that's something I really want to work with Slow Food on doing, and have more people out there who are doing this and keeping these traditions alive. This is food culture. This is absolutely what we are doing. What I'm doing with locavore hunting ties into the preservation of food culture, just like everything else that slow food does. And it's helping to preserve, ingredients and traditions involving ingredients that you just can't find anywhere else. You can't go out to the supermarket and buy a white-tailed deer steak or a pronghorn antelope backstrap. You can't do it. The only way you're going to cook with those ingredients is if you go out and hunt for them and butcher it yourself, or get someone else to butcher it for you. And that is where we need partnerships, I think, around the country between hunters and slow food groups. Yeah, they can go to jacksonlanders.com to find my blog, or I can be emailed at jack.landers@gmail.com.
Terry Thorsen, and I'm a small farmer, organic farmer. I like to say slow-ganic, so sustainable, local, and organic. And our farm, Suncap Farm, we're out in Crozet, Virginia, and our primary market is the Crozet Farmers Market. We grow vegetables, mostly tomatoes. And there's a lot of competition for tomatoes, but I've got some nice varieties, and they sell well. They taste good. They don't look crazy. They're heirlooms, but they're delicious. And then we also do greens and salad greens. And at this event, we brought over 2 shopping bags first of arugula, which is kind of the last thing out of the garden this year. So we're small scale. My main interest is not so much in making money off agriculture, because it's obviously hard and very hard at a small farmers market. But I'm interested in how do you do it with the least impact on the environment. So we've done some novel things, such as we're using swimming pools, really cheap swimming pools from Sam's Club, to collect rainwater. So last year during the drought, we had a swimming pool used for $100, and it held 4,000 gallons of water, which was enough to keep the tomatoes going through that period. So that's kind of my main interest, is doing those experimenting with different types of trellising and trying to get the cost as low as possible, and maybe spread the information so that other small farmers and gardeners in other parts of the country can utilize some of these techniques to improve their yield at low cost. Well, I think, so one of the things I did last year was strip tilling, which I found interesting. Certainly it's something that requires a little bit of practice in order to get right. I'm doing it on a small scale, so I'm using a rototiller to do the stripping. The other thing I did last year that was successful was intercropping, where I would grow basically a bed of lettuce, and then plant my tomato seedlings into the bed of lettuce. By the time the lettuce was ready for picking, the seedlings were taking off. And that really kept the weeds down and kept it profitable. What I have to figure out is what to do after I pick the lettuce, because the weeds came on pretty strong after that. But I'd like to try to find some way to intercrop so that I don't have to buy mulch, I don't have to use black mulch, and to make the land more profitable. So those are the types of things that I'm trying to do. I think what's important is, to me, it seems like a very basic thing, but building the soil. I'm very interested in the idea that through good governance of the lands, you can actually build topsoil. We're pretty good over here because it's mostly been pasture. But I'm very interested in that idea that we can actually, through good farming, make the land better over time. I mean, this kid loves video games too, but he also loves to be out in the garden. He loves to pick peas. This is my son William. He's only 19 months, but already he knows which plants he can eat, which plants he can't. If there's something he doesn't know about, he checks with Daddy. I don't know if I want him to grow up and be a farmer necessarily, but I'd like him to be in touch with nature and understand where his food comes from. So I know you interviewed Jackson Landers before, and I took his hunting course, and that's, when this kid's a little older, that's the other thing I'm going to teach him is, where does meat come from? Livestock meat and wild meat as well. We've got friends that come from New York, and their favorite thing is just to go out in the garden and pick food. Their mom says that they're a little bit fussy, but they're not fussy when they're picking themselves. And I think that's, when I hear parents say that their kids don't like food, one of the things I say to them is get your kids involved in growing food, because if they're growing it and they have an investment in it, even at a very young age, I think they're going to enjoy it and appreciate it a lot more.
Oh yeah, we're just hanging out here at Terra Madre Day here at Slow Food Gathering. There's a deer being butchered. There are a couple of fires going on. We're having a good time. I had a fire last year and I recovered pretty well from that. And the mushroom business goes well. Got lots of chefs who are interested in high quality mushrooms and selling at some of the smaller markets in Charlottesville. It's going well. Mushrooms are really a nutritious food. They fall in protein content somewhere between meat and vegetables, and they're high in B vitamins, no cholesterol at all, vitamin D, and that's especially in dried mushrooms. If you dry them in the sunlight, that boosts the vitamin D content. Some mushrooms can be used for bioremediation to clean up oil spills and other waste, toxic waste, because they break down large molecules. Yeah, mostly larger molecules like polyaromatic hydrocarbons and.
Where would they be found?
Those are mostly from oil spills and things like that. We've got indoor production now of 3 or 4 different species. depending on the week, and yeah, it's good.
We are very lucky to be part of such a rich food community. What's going on here today is our 5th event for the Slow Food Albemarle Piedmont group. We recently formed in spring, and we are intent on enriching this whole prospect of local food, but also global food and global food awareness. So because we're part of Slow Food, and this organization is specifically focused around growing the tradition of food and eating together and communal gatherings and seeing really what the food is about behind the scenes. So today we have a deer that's being butchered and processed so everybody can see what that looks like. And we've built a fire, we have a big bonfire, we've got children, we have kombucha, we have homemade kimchi, we have some local greens, and we have greenies here serving fresh vegetarian food. So a really nice gathering. We have the cider folks here who make their own cider. It's just a wonderful way to get folks together to network and talk about what's at the core of everything, of course, which is great food and gathering of community. We have at our core the hope to really link with all the other folks who are focused on local food projects and food in general. We foresee some partnering with UVA. We hope, we're kind of putting the word out there right now, we're hoping to do something potentially with the UVA library, the rare books, and bring forward some of those traditional Virginia cultural foodways. So that's on our list of to-dos long term. And then short term, our goal is really just to get together once a month in whatever fashion. We hope to do some educational events at Random Row, bring in some chefs to do some demonstrations, potentially with the Charlottesville Cooking School, who's offered up some of their space for gatherings, and also reach out to maybe some of the local schools and get started a local seed or a native seed initiative or a rare seed initiative where a lot of the schools are starting gardens. And we have a link with some of our board members to some old seedways, and so we're hoping to integrate some of that as well. Right now there is a website, it's in transition, so we're upgrading thanks to some local volunteer help, which we're grateful for. But you can reach us at slowfoodalbemarle.piedmont@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with us. That's probably the best way right now. Website is slowfoodalbemarle.piedmont, slowfoodalbemarlepiedmont.com, but that will probably be shifting. But you can just search for us on Google. We're also on Facebook, so we're out there. What we need from the community is for all of us to pay attention when we're eating together, that we take the time to spend that time talking to each other, even if it's around our own dinner table. We want to grow that sentiment of really being able to slow down around the time frame when we can communally sit and eat and gather and chat. That's our primary goal. But beyond that, we would love people to get involved. We're always looking for opportunities, great ideas, bring them forward. So, yes, that's it. Thank you, Michael, for having us on Meet the Farmer TV. We love what you do, and we're thrilled to be part of that.
Once again, another great episode. We thank you for your support, and we look for your feedback. Check out our news.meetthefarmer.tv and find out the latest happenings that may not make it to a full episode. Remember to check out our website anytime you want to see us, watch.meetthefarmer.tv. This program is a production of Meet the Farmer TV, LLC, in association with Planet Earth Diversified, Melly Productions, and Leslie P. Jenkins Photography and Graphic Design. Meet the Farmer TV is made possible by Culpeper Media Network, helping to preserve the agricultural history of Virginia, and In the Kitchen magazine, serving the community and everyone who loves good food.